So I'm going to continue to do this like 3 players every AFL team could trade for series on the channel because you guys seem to absolutely love it. Again, I've done a Richmond one now. I've done a Essendon one, I think. Yeah, geez, I can't even keep up. I'm sure I've done another one out there, but I'm not too sure, bro. I gotta stop drinking, man, so I can remember. But we're doing Collingwood today. We're doing 3 players I think the Collingwood Football Club will potentially and could potentially look at trying to trade for in the 2025 AFL trade period. But again, I'm going to be going over, somewhat realistic, and I also think this is going to be some reports with, some of these players, but also going over some of the needs that they have, which really isn't much. The Collingwood Football Club are absolutely steamrolling around right now. I think they are a clear potential favourite to win the flag, and they've got one of the best footy players I've seen in recent memory in Nick Dacos. I mean, how the AFL and umpires let that man have 2 blokes like holding him by tagging him every game and getting away with it is absolutely crazy. I mean, a bit off topic here, but with all the frees Collingwood seem to get, and it's funny, some of them are the biggest bullshit, like we saw that against Melbourne, but then you've got Nick Dacos having, one bloke hold his arm, one bloke is holding his shorts, another bloke's holding his freaking penis, and he can't get a free. What the hell is going on, AFL? But I guess without further ado, we'll get into the first player who I think Collingwood will be potentially targeting. Again, he's out of contract next year. He's actually been linked to Collingwood, and that does happen to be Ben King. Again, I want to first of all start off by saying that I think that Ben King will be re-signing with the Gold Coast Suns, next year. I mean, it is early on and it could completely change. This is just a really early prediction by me, but I mean, there's not really any reason for him to leave the Gold Coast Suns. I think the money will be really good there. He's their key forward. He will be their best key forward they have, ever had in their time. Again, Tom Lynch's prime was, I think most of us would say it at Richmond. Ben King should be having his prime at Gold Coast. But I mean, if there was a team who would convince him to spend his prime elsewhere and actually maybe make it happen, it's Collingwood. I mean, they are an absolute powerhouse of the competition who have a lot of older players absolutely balling out right now who are all taking massive pay cuts. There's a lot of players at Collingwood taking pay cuts, and I mean, they just seem to have the culture and winning ability that like Richmond had a couple years ago when Craig McRae was there and getting players to take pay cuts at Richmond. Collingwood are kind of doing the same thing, and I mean, Richmond were able to get players to take pay cuts to get Tom Lynch across. I think Collingwood, they will ask the question because, I mean, Tom Lynch, Ben King's asking price, is going to be massive for Collingwood. I mean, to get him out of the Gold Coast Suns with the type of contracts that we're seeing players get, of Cozzy Pickett getting like 1.4 million a year, Finn Callahan's apparently getting like 1.5 million. It's going to be in that ballpark, and that's what Ben King is going to be asking for. So, I mean, if Collingwood present that to him with an opportunity to be the key forward of arguably the biggest club in the AFL, I think he will definitely listen. I think he'll re-sign, but I think he'll also listen. I mean, he really fits their team. They need a good young key forward to take them into the future, or even just a key forward that's entering his prime, which he kind of is, because Tim Membry's like, they signed him and he was like 48. Dan McStay's getting older and he's had a couple injuries. Mason Cox isn't even getting a game. Myercheck is getting older as well as an option down there. They're going to be looking for someone, and I think Ben King will be someone that they very much try and get. Again, I don't think it will happen, but it makes a whole lot of sense. Again, a player I wanted to throw out there because I thought it'd be a bit of fun, and he's kind of not getting a game right now, does happen to be Jordan Sweet. Now, am I saying that Jordan Sweet would get a game at the Collingwood Football Club? Probably not, but I actually think he's a really interesting trade target because right now, he and Ivan Soldo, they're probably not starting ruckman caliber. They could be passed off as a ruckman playing alongside another ruckman in a starting 23, or for what they are right now, they can be passed off as absolutely elite backup ruckmen who come in when a guy gets injured. Again, I'm sure Jordan Sweet will probably get his spot back in that Port Adelaide team very soon. He was their main ruckman last year. He's just hit a bit of a form issue right now. But the thing is, I think Collingwood, they've actually shown an ability to be able to play two ruckmen together over the last couple of years, where Mason Cox and, of course, Darcy Cameron, both being able to play together. Again, it's kind of worked because both of them had an ability to move around the ground pretty well, and Mason Cox had an ability to go up forward. Does Jordan Sweet have that? Maybe, maybe not. Did Darcy Cameron have that before he got to Collingwood? Probably not. So they could try and do that with Jordan Sweet. But the thing is, the reason I think he'd actually be an option to bring in is because, I think they need a backup ruckman. Touch wood that nothing happens to Darcy Cameron. He does stay healthy. But let's just say he was to get injured for a couple weeks. Their backup ruckman right now is, of course, Mason Cox. And it is being reported that he will be retiring at season's end or not being offered a contract at season's end, as he's not getting a game and he's playing in the VFL. So they're going to need a new backup ruckman, / they might be actually looking for another guy to play alongside Darcy Cameron as well. Again, I think Jordan Sweet would be a really good, cheap opportunity to maybe bring in that they could probably get for a late second round pick, early third round pick. Again, I think Port might be, now that they've got their new starting ruckman, they may potentially be looking to clean house and maybe see if they could trade away Soldo and Sweet for a couple of second round picks, and maybe they look to just draft the ruckman to develop late in the draft. That could be something that Port, try and do, move them off the team. Again, I think Jordan Sweet would be an interesting option for Collingwood. Would be a really good backup ruckman that would make sense. But also, I think Port would be willing to do it. And Jordan Sweet, who knows? If they actually got him to move around the ground a lot better, they could have a similar situation with Mason Cox and Cameron playing together, and having that with Cameron and maybe Jordan Sweet. So, yeah, could be worth the opportunity if he was to become available for Collingwood to have a look. Again, the player I think would be most obvious for Collingwood to probably target, in my opinion, does happen to be Matt Rowell. So, yeah, I spent, hours of my day editing and recording this video just for Matt Rowell to kind of give me the bird and say, look, I'm deciding to re-sign with the Gold Coast Suns, even though everyone and their dad in the media has been saying that I look like I am potentially going to be leaving. I'm going to stick it out for another 2 years and see what happens. So this kind of has really cock-blocked my video. I'm going back in and rethinking about what should I do, and I'm thinking, you know what? There is still another player in mind, and it actually kind of builds up an even bigger hole now because Matt Rowell has decided to re-sign. It's built a hole for this player on what his future is going to be like with the Gold Coast Suns, actually. So the same team, and that does happen to be Sam Flanders. Now, I think Sam Flanders would be really good for Collingwood. That is the reality. And some of you might be thinking, why is Sam Flanders' name kind of come out of here? And that is because, well, a week or two ago, it was actually reported that he could maybe be looking to seek for more opportunity elsewhere, and that the Gold Coast Suns, he might actually go up to them and be like, look, I kind of want to trade, not only because I want to play more midfield time, and you guys are not only giving me no midfield time, you're not playing me off the half back, but I'm being played as a high half forward because our forward line is not as good as everything else on our team, but also because I think another team could, maybe offer him a little bit more money as well. Now, is Collingwood that team? I'm not exactly too sure, but I do know Collingwood is a team that is absolutely looking for another inside midfielder. Again, I'll kind of give this little spiel that I've talked about with Matt Rowell that I was going to say, but obviously Collingwood right now, the reason they were so good in 2023 is because they had a guy like Tom Mitchell who was able to go in there and get the hard ball and the clearance and the contested possessions to get the ball out to a guy like Nick Dacos or Josh Dacos, who typically like to sit out the pack more. They're not players who usually like to go in there and get the big hard ball. Again, they usually like to let someone else do that job, get them the ball, and they can work their magic and cook and create with it. Again, that's what makes them such special players. It's what made players like Dustin Martin such special players as well. And obviously, in 2024, with Tom Mitchell going down, they didn't really have that, and they kind of went to crap. But of course, in 2025, they were able to find Ned Long and Allen to come into the team and really fulfill that role to be able to help out Collingwood. And it has been really, really good. But again, there's still some people who think that over time they may look to upgrade again. Ned Long is just a cheap replacement. Even though he's actually been really good, there are still a lot of faults of his game, like his kicking, and some people don't know if his game is going to stack up in finals because, again, in finals, teams double what they are, and they will target your weaknesses, and if they can get Ned Long to kick, it can be a little bit of a thing that I think some people are a bit concerned about. But at the end of the day, I think it's not going to really matter, but they may still look to want to upgrade later on. I'm not saying they'll go for Sam Flanders, but he will be an option. He will damn right be an option for them to maybe go and target in this upcoming trade period and free agency, because he's got a year left. I don't think Gold Coast are going to want to trade him, but if Collingwood put up an offer of like a future first and their second round pick this year, and maybe even a player, right? Because Gold Coast will probably want to get a player in return. You could get that deal done. And I mean, we got to remember that before Flanders got moved to high half forward this year, he was averaging like 27 disposals a game or something crazy in the midfield last year. And he only got pushed out because they really needed him in other positions. And Matt Rowell and Touk Miller and Anderson are not as good as him being able to go and play in other positions. So he was the one that kind of had to do it. But he wants to be an inside midfielder, and I think he might get his wish eventually. Teams like Richmond and Collingwood will obviously come for him. So I think that'll be a really interesting one, and actually a good replacement of what I had them kind of going for Matt Rowell. They can kind of do a little bit of a similar thing. Not the same type of player. He's a little bit different, Flanders, but I think he would come in and be a really good addition to the team. But again, I'd very much like to hear all of your thoughts and opinions on this in the comment section down below. Do you guys think Collingwood should go and target Sam Flanders and, maybe some of the other players I've mentioned, obviously? Again, I'd very much like to know your thoughts and opinions. Subscribe to the channel for all those sports content news. My gaming channel, which will be linked down below. My Instagram will also be linked down below. And yeah, leave a like, subscribe, and comment, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.